Welcome to ABC Interactive English. Hello everyone, I'm Mike.
And I'm Sam.
And we are back today with part 2 of Peru's Rainbow Mountain, or as the Incans might have called it,
Vinicunca.
Vinicunca. There you go.
You threw me off on that one for a second.
The local people in Peru, who of course today speak Spanish, la montaña de siete colores, yes. Or the mountain of seven colors. Yeah, very interesting. So it is a colorful mountain. As we learned yesterday, you can see lots of beautiful colors in there. Purple, green, red, yellow, all natural, coming from the minerals that the mountain is made of. Now, we also mentioned that Peru has a much more famous tourist site, and that would be
Machu Picchu.
Ooh,
yes.
Which I've never been to.
I haven't either, and it's definitely on my list. And it's on my list of something that probably need to do sooner because it is quite a hike to get to Machu Picchu.
That's true.
So they always kind of say, don't save that one for like your very end of your bucket list.
When you're old and tired.
Yes, because there's a lot of stairs and there's a lot of hiking to get up to this ancient city that's up in the mountain, and it's very cool.
That's right. And as we said, with Rainbow Mountain being discovered in 2013, I think Machu Picchu was only discovered about 100 years ago in like 1913. Hiram Bingham was the I don't know why I remember, maybe because he's got a cool name. He was the American who discovered it. And you're right, there isn't really a big road that goes there. It's in the mountains. You can go nearby, but kind of again, like Rainbow Mountain, once you take your bus from the city, you'll stop still kilometers away from the place you want to see. So yeah, you got to hike up these hills. You need to have, good knees and legs and, be strong enough to make the trip. So that's a really good point, Sam. Go when the going is good. And of course, we should also remind you guys that when it's Chinese New Year here in Taiwan, that might be a good time to go because remember, the seasons are reversed in Peru. It's in the south, so their summer is our winter, and our winter around Chinese New Year, for example, would be their summertime. So let's get to the article and find out more about Rainbow Mountain and where exactly it is on our planet. Rainbow Mountain is high in the Andes Mountains. It's 5,200 meters above sea level, so the air is thin, and visitors go slow to get enough oxygen. When people can't catch their breath, they can just rent a horse. All right, so yesterday, of course, we talked about how Rainbow Mountain, or Rainbow Mountains, because there might be a few, they are in Peru, which of course is a country in South America. And exactly where? Well, it says Rainbow Mountain is high in the Andes Mountains, one of the great mountain ranges of the world, the Himalayas, the Rockies in North America, the Alps in Europe, and of course the Andes, which run down like a spine, like a backbone, down the sort of western side of South America. Chile is mainly kind of stretches all the way down one side of the Andes Mountains. Very high, very dry, and also maybe hard to breathe. These mountains, the ones you're going to visit if you go there, are, they're up there. It says it's 5,200 meters above sea level. Wow, that's pretty high. Mount Everest is around 8,800. So you're like more than halfway up Mount Everest. And of course, that's going to be high. It's going to be quite cold up there. And also this thing that we do sometimes, what's it called? Breathing.
Yeah.
That could get tricky.
Yeah, that very important thing that keeps you alive and moving. Air. Yeah, it's good to be able to breathe. Yeah. But if we know from kind of our science classes, we see the air gets thinner as you go up. So it says, so the air is thin. So meaning like this, because it's this tall, so the air is thin, and visitors go slow to get enough oxygen. That would be a good idea because as the air gets thinner, there's less oxygen in the air. It takes more to give your body what it needs. It's harder, a little bit harder to breathe. You will feel almost like you can't breathe even though you are not underwater, because you're missing that oxygen. You need the actual oxygen in the air to really help your body move and your brain work and all that kind of stuff. And so we had this word thin. We were saying that the air gets thinner. In this exact example, the air getting thinner is not literally thinner, it's less oxygen. So it's not as easy to breathe in. But the word thin just is the opposite of thick. So if something is thin, it's very, very small or skinny. If something is thick, it's fatter or wider. So in the summer, you might wear thin clothes because it's hot. And in the winter, you will want to wear thick clothes or lots of clothes because it's cold. So thick versus thin. Again, in this situation, talking about the air getting thinner, it's a little bit different because it's more talking about the actual oxygen, but it's still like the idea in your head. You could imagine you've got more air or thinner air. Kind of can use it in that way.
Yeah, we sometimes talk about liquid as well, right? If you're cooking, you might have a very thick soup, so you add water to it. You actually thin your soup by adding water. And with air, I often think of thick air as being the hot, wet air we might get in the cities in Taiwan in the summertime, where it's almost hard to breathe because there's so much water. That's very thick. Whereas up in the mountains, maybe even up on Alishan or somewhere like that. And that's, of course, a bit of a challenge for people like us who live down near the sea level in cities. We go up there, suddenly we feel very tired very quickly.
Hello, I'm Tina. 我们来看一下刚刚课文里提到的单字跟文法重点。首先来看看单字的部分。Thin 形容词，稀薄的。The air is thin at the top of the mountain. 山顶的空气很稀薄。我们再来看一下文法重点。刚刚课文提到了 It's 5,200 meters above sea level. 它的海拔高度是5200公尺。常用于说明某地的海拔高度。Above sea level 指的是高于海平面。我们来看看这个例句。The village is 2,000 meters above sea level. 这个村庄的海拔是2000公尺。接着我们回到课文当中。
All right, let's get back to the article. It says, when people can't catch their breath, they can just rent a horse. Oh. Okay, I was using oxygen like they do in the Mount Everest, right? When mountain climbers, they might actually have to have bottles of oxygen. But yeah, you can just have a horse carry you up. The horse can do the breathing. If you're born up there, if you live up there, you're much more used to the thin air. So don't worry, the horses won't be suffering so much like you are. They're used to the thin air, but that will allow you to catch your breath. When you catch your breath, you basically slow your breathing down. You're breathing like that because you've been running, or because the air's thin, or because you're scared. And then when the danger goes away, when you stop running, when you get better air, then you catch your breath. Your breathing slows down, your heart will slow down as well. We can also use catch your breath or catch one's breath to talk about just taking a break, right? Having a little relaxing time after some busy time. The weekend is a time to catch your breath, not in the breathing way, but in the kind of slowing your life down and getting back to a more comfortable and rested sort of way of living or way of being.
Yes, and then we also had this word rent. So you can rent a horse.
That's good.
So the word rent just means to borrow for a little bit. So you're paying money to borrow this thing. In this case, it's a horse.
Yeah.
And then later you will return it. You don't own it. It's not yours, but you have agreed to pay a certain amount of money to use something for a certain amount of time.
Okay.
You can rent a horse, you can rent a house, you could rent an apartment or a car or a boat. all those things that you might not want to actually buy or own it yourself. You just want to use it for a little bit of time. And then you might hear this word also saying you pay rent. If you live in an apartment, that would be the noun form. You would say, I'm renting this apartment, so I need to pay rent every month. So you can kind of use it in these two ways. Of course, if you're going up the mountains, you're not going to want to buy a horse when you're up there and then go, oh, now I have a horse. What am I supposed to do with this?
Bring it back to Taiwan.
Yes. So luckily, you can just rent it for a short time and then give it back to the people who will take care of it.
That's good. I wonder if you can use your Easy card like renting a U-bike.
That'd be nice.
Very convenient. There you go. So yeah, a horse can carry you up and the horse will do all the hard work while you sit on the horse's back. Kind of a cool way to get to the top of the mountain.
我们来看一下刚刚课文里提到的单字 rent 动词租借 Ian rented a bike to explore the city. Ian 租借一台自行车来探索这个城市。Explore 就是探索。文法的部分刚刚提到了 catch one's breath， 某人喘口气，调整呼吸。Breath 指的是呼吸，这是一个不可数名词。我们来看看这个例句。After running, Bill stopped to catch his breath. 跑步后 ，Bill 停下来喘口气。接着我们回到课文当中。
All right, we are back, and we're going to take a quick break now, but then we're going to be back to talk about more about some of these helpful four-legged friends, these horses that you can rent to carry your tired, lazy bum to the top of the mountain. You should walk on your own. They're available at any point on the mountain path. However, the air isn't the only challenge. Rainbow Mountain's weather can change from sun to rain to snow in just an hour. Also, the temperature can quickly drop to below zero. Even with these challenges, people can't wait to visit Rainbow Mountain. Okay, all right, I should apologize. I said you should hike your lazy self up to the top of the mountain. I've never been there. I've never walked around at 5,000 meters. I don't know what this is like, but I would try. I think I would go there and I would try to walk up the mountain, but if I got tired, if I started to run out of air, here's the good news. It says there, these horses that you can rent, they're available at any point on the mountain path. So that's pretty cool. You could start off feeling strong and stupid like me, and then halfway up go, I'm gonna die. But don't worry, there's a horse right there. You don't have to go to the bottom. You don't have to either walk or rent. Those are your two choices. You can go halfway. You can rent a horse basically anywhere as you go up. So that's actually really good news and very safe. However, it says the air isn't the only challenge. Well, not breathing is a pretty big challenge. So what's the other challenge? Sharks?
I don't know, but if
dinosaurs?
If the air is the big challenge, there might not be any need for any more challenges because if you already can't breathe.
That's right. A mountain lion is going to eat me, but I don't care. I can't breathe.
Yes.
But it basically said, yeah, we use that expression, you can rent a horse at any point. That basically means anywhere, especially on a journey or through some kind of process that begins and ends, okay? So if we're having a meeting, someone might say, hey, at any point we can take a break if you need to go to the bathroom or, go to get a coffee. Watching a movie at home is nice, right? Because you can stop the movie at any point, anywhere you like to go to the bathroom or get a snack. If you see the movie in the movie theater, the movie shouldn't stop at any point. It won't stop anywhere in there. It'll just go from the beginning to the end. But this means at any place, any stage, at any point from the beginning to the end or from the start to the finish of your journey, you can get one of these horses.
Yeah, which I'm still a little bit curious, how do they do that? Are there literally horses just lined up the whole path up the mountain?
I hope not. There will be thousands of horses.
Yes, so I'm
maybe
wondering,
every 500 meters, every half a kilometer. I don't know, but that's
just a guy with one horse.
Or maybe they just walk next to you. Are you ready? Are you ready to rent? Are you getting tired?
That part I think is kind of interesting.
Yeah, and the price will go up the further up the mountain you go.
Yes, so that part's a little interesting. Yeah. I guess we'd have to go to figure it out. But it is nice to know that at any point you could have a break. Now, it also says that the thin air is not the only challenge. And we have this word challenge. If something is a challenge, it's something difficult that you need to try to work through. So you might have a challenge in your job or in your school. Like maybe you think, oh, this upcoming test is going to be a real challenge because it's a big test and it's going to be difficult and you need to score well on it. So you need to work and prepare to be ready for this challenge. It also can be just something that's difficult that gets in your way of something also. So for example, you're trying to get to the top of the mountain and there are challenges along the way. There are difficult things that you need to work through as you go up the mountain. Again, we talked about the thin air. That is a challenge. That is something that you will have to think about and figure out. Either maybe you will have to stay at a higher level longer to get used to the air before you keep walking, or you rent the horse or something. But you have some challenges that you need to face and get through. So difficult things that are in the way that you must get past. That would be a challenge.
我们来看一下刚刚课文里提到的单字 challenge 名词挑战 Climbing the mountain is a great challenge 爬这座山是一个很大的挑战文法的部分刚刚提到了 at any point 任何一个地方 point 在这里表示空间的一处我们来看看这个例句 At any point during the hike you can stop to rest在徒步旅行的任何一个地方，你都可以停下来休息。接着我们回到课文当中。
Okay, so the thin air is a challenge. Renting a horse is not a challenge because they're anywhere at any point. And we had one more challenge. What's the other challenge of visiting Rainbow Mountain?
Well, it is that Rainbow Mountain's weather can change from sun to rain to snow in just an hour.
In an hour?
Yes.
Summer to winter in an hour.
Yes.
Okay. So choosing the right clothes and bringing extra clothes, sweaters and jackets you can put on or take off, a very good idea. That's amazing. Sunny, nice, warm day, and then 60 minutes, an hour later, snow and cold and things like that. And of course, yes, as we go from a sunny day to a snowy day, not only will the sky look different, but the air will feel very different. Also, the temperature can quickly drop to below 0. Wow, okay. So we're already high in the mountains. I don't expect it's going to be 35 degrees. Might be a nice warm day at 20 degrees. But imagine it goes from 20 degrees down to 0 or even less in less than an hour. That would be quite a thing. And if you're up there in your, t-shirt and shorts, because it's a nice sunny day, you're going to get very cold very quickly with this low temperature. And a temperature is the word that we use to talk about heat and measuring how hot or cold something is. When you look at the weather before you go out, it might say the temperatures today will be 18 to 25. That's the warmest temperature and the coldest temperature. If you're sick, you might, I feel like I have a fever. Take my temperature. See how hot my body is inside. When you're cooking, setting your stove or oven at the right temperature is very, very important. So temperature is a measurement of heat, hot and cold, and below 0 is under 0, is cold, is winter, is snow, is ice, is not comfortable.
No.
in short sleeves and shorts.
Yes, and so we had this word for below, for below zero. Below is a preposition, and it just shows a relative position. So if you have something here, and if you are above it, you are higher than it. If you are below, then you are lower than that. So again, we also talked about how these mountains are over 5,000 kilometers above sea level. If you go under the ocean, you can be below sea level, so above and below. So just below, lower than a relative position. Again, it can be physical, above sea level, below sea level. It could be talking about temperature, above or below. It could be all these types of things. Your score, you got a score lower than somebody else. Your score was below somebody else's.
And yes, of course, below zero would be shown as minus and then a number like -5 or something like that, which is pretty cold. All right, let's take a little look at the next part of the article.
我们来看一下刚刚课文里提到的单字 temperature 名词，气温、温度。The temperature dropped overnight. 气温在一夜之间下降了。Overnight 指的就是突然的，一夜之间的。Below 介系词，在什么以下。The temperature is below 10 degrees today. 今天的气温低于10度。接着我们回到课文当中。
Okay, so it says, even with these challenges, people can't wait to visit Rainbow Mountain. So now they know about these challenges. They know the air is going to be thin. They know that they're going to have to prepare for a little bit warmer weather to very cold and snowy and have all that prepared for those challenges. But that does not keep them away from this mountain. It is still too cool. They want to go see it.
Absolutely. Those colors are so special and so unusual that, yes, I think a lot of people would travel from all parts of the world to visit Rainbow Mountain or
Vinicunca.
There you go. I just like Vinicunca. All right, guys, thanks for joining us. Maybe we'll see you hiking up Rainbow Mountain someday. I'll be the guy catching my breath on a horse. And hopefully we can all get up and down safely. And remember, bring your camera because the colors are out of this world. Take care of yourselves, everyone else, and the earth. And we'll see you back here soon. Bye. Rainbow Mountain is high in the Andes Mountains. It's 5,200 meters above sea level, so the air is thin, and visitors go slow to get enough oxygen. When people can't catch their breath, they can just rent a horse. They're available at any point on the mountain path. However, the air isn't the only challenge. Rainbow Mountain's weather can change from sun to rain to snow in just an hour. Also, the temperature can quickly drop to below zero. Even with these challenges, people can't wait to visit Rainbow Mountain.
我们来复习一下这一课的重点单字跟文法。单字的部分 thin 形容词，稀薄的 rent 动词，租借 temperature 名词，气温，温度 below 介系词，在什么的以下 challenge 名词，挑战。接着我们来看文法的部分 It's 5,200 meters above sea level. 它的海拔高度是5200公尺。The land here is several miles above sea level. 这片土地的海拔高度有好几英里。Catch one's breath. 某人喘口气，调整呼吸。Hold on, I need to stop and catch my breath. 等一等，我得停下来喘口气。At any point, 任何一个地方。You can rest at any point on the trail. 你可以在步道上的任何一个地方休息。以上就是这一课的重点单字跟文法，那我们下一次再见喽，拜拜。
Oh, I'm feeling hungry, Winnie, and it's time for breakfast.
My favorite meal of the day. So what are you thinking? Pancakes, waffles?
I'm feeling something a little more traditional, like radish cake.
Ew, cake with radish in it? That sounds gross.
No, not that. Here, I'll show you.
Starting off with maybe not so unique, we have our hash brown.
I love hash browns.
Yes, you are part hash brown.
That's true.
So this is our subing, of course. Hash means to chop up food or chopped up food, so bits of the potato.
Speaking of a root vegetable, we're going to move on to something quite Taiwanese, which is a 萝卜糕, a radish cake. So it's made out of 白萝卜
And then we have what I would call teppanyaki noodles.
or hot plate noodles. And this is a very Taiwanese breakfast.
Yeah.
When you think of hot plate noodles, you'll think of black pepper sauce or mushroom sauce.
And then last but not least, we have what I would call gyozas.
Actually, I have to correct you there. These are not gyozas. This is what we would call 煎饺, which is basically a pan-fried dumpling. Yes, so the difference is that it's dumpling that's been cooked in water first, and then they pan-fry it on the hot plate.
Got it. Well, hopefully you had a good breakfast with us yet again. But if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask us anything you want us to translate or help you with right over here.
Kiwi later.